DreAllDay.com.
You're now listening to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, let me give you a little bit more because we just like to give over here. I don't know what our problem is. We just give. We're going to give you, on top of all of this, we're going to give you the personal initiative to go and make things happen instead of wait for things to happen. And then what we do on top of that, we're not done giving to you. We're going to put all this together into this one philosophy, this one system, this one codified process. We wrote a book on it. This is a brand, it's a lifestyle, it's a way of being. Not doing, but being. And we have a hardcover book that is all called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is how to be a fisherman. Yes, you heard me correctly. How to be a fisherman. Now, I'm not talking about, if you even follow my material, you know that whenever I give you these phrases, you know that there's always a metaphor involved. So I'm not talking about fishing when you actually go to the lake and you throw your bait in the water and fish bite on it and you reel them in and all that. I don't even know how to do that. So I'm unqualified to even speak on that topic. So when I talk about being a fisherman here, I'm talking about the well-known phrase that says, you can give a man to fish and feed him for a day, or you could teach a man to fish and feed him for the rest of his life. Today, I'm going to tell you how to become that fisherman who knows how to fish, who can feed yourself, metaphorically speaking, for the rest of your life. How you can be the person who can go out and get the things that you need, get the things that you want as often and as urgently as you need to get them. And we're going to use the metaphor of actually fishing, even though I'm not a fisherman. I do not fish, but I got a good enough idea of how it works. So if I get this wrong, if I fumble the metaphor of how fishing works, then anybody who is experienced in fishing, you can correct me and let me know. But I think I got this. Or I think I got a good enough general understanding of how it works. So we can talk about today how to actually be a fisherman or fisherwoman, if we want to be fair, how to do this well. But I'm going to use fisherman throughout this episode, so ladies, do not take it as an offensive gesture. So let's get right into our points. Again, the topic is how to be a fisherman. Number one, you got to throw your bait out there, people. If you want to catch fish, you got to throw some bait out there. Now, as far as I know, again, when I'm looking on social media, sometimes I see the photographers, like the wildlife photographers, they'll have pictures of, it's two specific animals I always see pictures of when they catch fish. It'll be birds of prey who will dive down into the water. They'll grab a fish. It's amazing how they do it. Like the timing that that bird has. The bird is all the way up in the sky, dives down into the water on a straight line, dives into the water maybe a foot or so into the water, grabs a fish, and then comes right back up with the fish. How they time that and they know exactly where the fish is going to be at the exact moment that they get there is amazing. That's amazing timing that those birds have. So I'll see the birds grabbing the fish, and then I'll see pictures of bears. So bears will get into like a stream or a river where the fish jump, and then the bear will just catch a fish when the fish jumps up and they get it. Now, those two animals, the reason I'm mentioning birds and bears here in terms of catching fish is that they don't use bait. All right, the bird just reaches in and grabs one, and the bear just reaches in and grabs one. I don't know any humans who, when they go fishing, they just reach into the water and just grab a fish with their bare hands and pull it out. I'm sure there are people who can do it. I'm sure there are probably some videos on, I don't know, TikTok or YouTube of people actually doing that. But the fishing that I know about and the fishing that I'm using to support my metaphor here today is you got to actually have some bait. All right, so you're actually enticing the fish to do what the fish thinks it wants to do, but then it realizes in the end that you're the one who has the last laugh. So Napoleon Hill was famous for saying, and I mean, he's probably not the first person to ever say this, but I heard him say it, so I'll give him credit for it. He said, if you want someone to do something for you, you must give them a motive. You must give them an inspiring motive to do something on your behalf. You try to coerce somebody into doing something, maybe they will do it. If you have enough authority over that person. If you're a parent and you tell your kid to do something that they don't really want to do, but you have enough authority, i.e. you'll whoop their ass, they might do it anyway, but they're doing it against their will. So you don't want to force people to do things against their will because that's a little bit too much work. It creates too much friction. And as soon as they don't have to listen to you anymore, they won't. So that's a temporary success. You don't want that. You want people doing things for you because they want to do them for you. Now, what does this have to do with fishing? I'm explaining. When you throw bait out into the water, what does the fish do? The fish sees the bait, which is something that the fish wants. You offer the fish something that the fish wants. The fish willingly gets onto your hook, right? Because you put something on that bait on the hook, actually, the bait being the thing that's on the hook, that the fish actually wants. So again, hopefully y'all, I'm not getting too deep in this metaphor here, pun intended, too deep in the water here. You can't catch any fish by just standing at the edge of the water and looking down into the lake. And I assume that you're not probably using your feet or your hands to just claw a fish out of the water as an osprey or a bear is able to do. Or you're not going to catch fish by steering your boat out into the river but not offering the fish anything. You don't just stand there with or actually maybe you use a net. Now some people do fish with a net, so they just dip their net into the water and just scoop it up, and then whatever they catch, they catch. So that is, I'll give that as that's one of the exceptions to what I'm talking about here. But I'm talking about actually fishing with bait. You got to put something on that hook that the fish actually wants. Okay, so you can't just steer your boat out into the river, not offer the fish anything, then wonder why no fish are jumping into your tackle box or wherever you put the fish when you catch them. All right, let me stop trying to use jargon. I don't know what I'm talking about. Remember that nobody does something for nothing. All right, that's the point that you need to get here. Even fish, they don't do something for nothing. The fish that get caught by the eagles and the ospreys and the bears, they weren't trying to get caught. All right, they just didn't know what they didn't know. And then it was too late once they finally figured it out. But human beings, all right, we don't do something for nothing. You want someone to do something for you, offer them a relevant motive that they want to do it, something that they get in the process of doing something for you, and you get something. They get something, you get something. We call that a win-win situation. When you create win-win situations, you know what you're also creating? The possibility of doing it again, because the last thing you want to be is a one-hit wonder, someone who was able to create success one time, but you're unable to recreate your success because you don't have the cooperation, and you didn't create a win-win situation in your last time creating success. Therefore, whoever you created success with doesn't want to work with you again because it wasn't a win-win. You won, but they didn't win. And that's when you become a one-hit wonder. If you want to be able to repeat your success, especially when you're working with other people, they have to feel like they won as well so that they come back. All my entrepreneurs out there, solopreneurs, anybody who sells anything, you want repeat customers, right? You don't just want to get a whole bunch of one-off customers who buy something and they never come back, because that takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of friction, and it costs you a lot of money. Anyone who is in any type of, especially retail type of businesses, you know that it costs you a lot more money to sell something to a new customer than it does to sell something to a repeat customer. You make a lot more money by retaining the customers that you already have and upselling and reselling to them who are already in-house than you do selling to people who are new, obtaining new customers. Why is this? Because you don't have to spend any marketing dollars to sell to somebody who already knows you. Now, somebody who's never heard of you before, you have to spend marketing dollars and energy to get them to even understand who you are, then bring them into your world, then you got to warm them up, then you sell them something. And that costs you a lot in time, energy, and attention, and money. But somebody who already knows you, all right, they already know you, they like you, they trust you, they bought from you before, they felt like it was a win-win situation, they'll buy from you again, and you don't even have to do anything. So it takes a lot less energy. So make sure you're creating win-win situations by offering bait to the fish that you wish to hook. Again, hopefully I'm not getting too deep in the water with this metaphor that you're not following what I'm saying. If you want to catch a fish, offer them what they want. i.e., whatever it is you put on fish hooks, that's what the fish wants. If you're trying to get a person to do something for you, don't think about what you want. You already know what you want. Think about what they want. That's how you'll be able to get them to do something that will serve you while at the same time serving themselves. Think how your customer thinks. If you're trying to sell something and people aren't buying, ask yourself, all right, what does the customer actually want versus what I'm actually offering? Because there's a disconnect there. Or maybe you're offering something that would be good, but you're offering it to the wrong people. So one or the other. But if the fish aren't biting, there's either something wrong with your bait or something wrong with who you're trying to hook. One or the other. But there is a solution out there. So you athletes out there, for example, your sports coach does not care about how much playing time you personally get. If we got any sports coaches listening to this, I know that we do. You can tell me if I'm wrong, sports coaches. You don't really care how much playing time each individual player gets. I mean, you care, but that's not your main focus. Your main focus as a coach is probably to win some games. Now, of course, I know you want to build strong men and women, and you want them to prepare them for life, and you want them to understand that is about more than just the wins and the losses. Yeah, I get it. But let's be honest here. All right? It's about winning games. Because if you're losing, then you look bad. You want to look good and win while at the same time doing all those other things, all those ancillary things. Athletes, your coach doesn't care if you play 20 minutes, 2 minutes, or 40 minutes. What your coach cares about is winning games. Therefore, if you want the coach to put you in the game, you know what you need to do? You need to show the coach that you can help the coach achieve their outcome, which is winning games. Not your outcome, which is, coach, I want more playing time. The coach doesn't give a damn about your playing time. The coach cares about winning time, winning games. So if you can help contribute to what the coach wants, Then the coach will help contribute to what you want. See how that works? All it requires is you to take just one extra step of, instead of just thinking about what your aims are and what you want to acquire or achieve, think about what the other person wants to acquire or achieve. And then here's your insight. How can I design my situation so that I'm not only helping the other person get what they want, but I'm also helping myself get what I want? And famed, he's passed away now for a while, but famed motivational speaker and sales trainer by the name of Zig Ziglar was famous for saying, if you help enough other people get what they want, you can have everything. And I do mean everything that you want. So honestly, you don't even have to think in 2 steps here. You only got to think in 1 step. Here's the 1 step you got to think about. What does the other person want? And how can I help them get it? That's all you got to do. If you just focus on giving other people what they want, all the stuff that you want will find you. It will find you. It will make its way to you. It will beat down your door. You will not be able to stop it. All right. It will break in. It will break in the door, kind of like, I don't know if it happened this past holiday season, but in the normal Black Fridays, when they would open the doors at the mall and there would be a stampede and people are getting trampled because they're trying to get the flat screen TV that's on sale at Walmart. It will be like that. That's how people will be busting into your store to give you everything that you want. Why? Because you have invested so much in giving them what they want. So just focus on giving the other guy or the other girl what they want, the bait. That will hook them. They will jump on your hook as soon as you won't even be able to throw it into the water. They'll be jumping on all your hooks before you even have a chance to throw them out there. Fish do not bite on a hook because they want to get caught and killed and cooked up. Fish bite on a hook because you're offering them what they want. Do the exact same thing with human beings, because in many ways, we are not that different from these animals. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is how to be a fisherman. Number 2, focus on those who are biting, not on those who are not. This is a great time, energy, attention, and focus and money-saving skill right here. This will save you all the resources that we talk about in episode 609, time, money, attention, energy, focus. Focus on those who are paying attention to you. Pay attention to those who are already in. This is the inside-out strategy that I talk about all the time when it comes to personal development, when it comes to building your business, when it comes to where you're giving your attention. Focus on what's going on the inside, not what's going on the outside, i.e., pay attention to the people who are already watching your videos and listening to your podcasts and buying your products, not on the people who are not watching, not listening, and not buying. If you got, and I did an episode on this. Let me find that episode. Maybe it was an article that I wrote. I got to remember. No, it was an episode. Episode number 159. The topic is 15 is more than 0. And this is about building your brand. And this is something that somebody had once said to me, Dre, I wrote a blog post, or I posted a YouTube video, I posted something on Instagram. It was one of those, it might have been all 3. And I only got 15 likes or 15 views. Only 15 people came to my website last week. Listen, 15 people is more than 0 people. That means you have 15 people who are interested in you. You have 15 people who are looking to buy your product. All right, you need to give those 15 people the best show and the best value and the best material and the best product they've ever gotten in their lives. Why? Because if they like it, then now you got 15 repeat customers. And those 15 people, they all know people, right? And guess what they're going to do? They're going to tell somebody about the delightful experience they had with you. And now next time you're going to have 30 or 40 or 100 or 7,000 customers. Why? Because you gave so much to the people who are already on the inside. You were not focusing so much on the people on the outside. And this is a mistake that so many people make all the time, putting all their time and energy into the people on the outside, but not paying any attention to those who are on the inside. Fishermen do this without needing to be told. Now, you ever see somebody who's fishing come home with 5 or 6 caught fish, or they caught 5 or 6 fish and they throw them in the sink or whatever they do to clean the fish and all that. Again, don't let me get into stuff I don't know what I'm talking about. They come home with 5 or 6 fish that they caught, and then they complain about the 3,000 fish who passed on the bait that day. Do you ever see a fisher do that? I never heard of a fisherman doing that. Hey, I caught 5 trout today, but let me tell you about the 3,000 who didn't bite on my hook. Nobody ever says that. You know what they focus on? The 5 who bit the hook. The 5 that they caught. The focus is on what? The fish who are biting, people. And the Mirror of Motivation, mirrormotivation.com. It is the landing page you can go to get a free copy of my book called The Mirror of Motivation that I talk about all the time. That page right now, the last time I checked, has a 29% opt-in rate, meaning if you come to that page and then you actually end up getting the book, 29 out of every 100 people who come to the page actually follow through and they get the book. Now, let me ask you a question. Do I complain about the 71 out of every 100, the 71% of people who go to the page, look at everything on there, and it's great material, I wrote it myself, and don't get the book? Do I complain about them? Do I get mad? Do I go hunt them down and say, yo, you came to mirrormotivation.com, why don't you get my book? What's your problem? No, I don't pay attention to them. You know who I serve? The 29% who said they want the book. The 29% who took me up on the offer. Any wise business owner knows this. I just talked about this. It costs a lot more money to acquire a new customer than it takes to sell more to your current customers. Jay Abraham, who's a business mastermind, guru, expert. He's a coach to many very successful business people. He's worked with Tony Robbins on many things. He's written several books. I've talked about Jay. He's on my reading list. One of the things that he talks about, if you want to increase revenues in your business, one thing you can do is increase your prices. Another thing you can do is acquire more customers. Another thing you can do is just sell more stuff to the customers you already have. This is the most efficient one. Sell more stuff to the people you already have. Russell Brunson, who I talked about, Marketing Secrets podcast that I listen to, he says, when you have people in your ecosystem, they will keep buying from you forever unless either A, you piss them off, you say or do something that pisses them off and you lose their trust, or B, you just stop selling things. But otherwise, they're there. All you got to do is focus on the people on the inside and they will bring in the other people. In other words, there's more money made by serving those who are already in than trying to get people in. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is how to be a fisherman. Number 3, to get more of those. Notice commonalities and get specific. In other words, more of those, meaning the fish who have already bitten. So if you notice that when you use a certain type of bait, you keep catching a certain type of fish, you need to pay attention to that. All right, this is the kind of fish that's coming to me when I use this kind of bait. When I talk about these topics, these are the type of people who are interested. When I post this kind of picture, these are the kind of comments that I'm getting from these type of people. Do I want more of that or do I not? If the answer is yes, then do more of what you are already doing. If the answer is no, then you need to do something different. What bait do your fish like? Where do they swim? What time of day are they active? Use these demographics and psychographics, and these are big words that in this case simply means one thing: similarities between people. Just find the similarities. So if you like serving people who are Instagram models, what kind of material is drawn into Instagram models? If you like selling stuff to photographers, what kind of content is drawn in all the photographers? If you like getting people who are business owners to buy your course, what type of titles or subject lines or advertisements are drawn in people who buy the course? Where are you advertising at is drawing in the kind of people that you want. Your job is to notice the commonalities that are drawing in certain people and producing certain results, repeating the ones that you want to get more of, and discontinuing the ones that you don't want. So if you don't like catching trout, but you notice when you use a certain type of bait, all that bites are trout, stop using that bait. Stop going to that lake. There's some variable that you can change so that you can get different results. All right, this is all pretty simple and is actually pretty easy too. The thing is, us humans with these big brains that we have in our heads, and we think we're smarter than all the other animals out there, all right, they don't make these mistakes. All right, so sometimes that big brain actually causes more problems because we start overthinking. We think ourselves out of the simplicity of the game. Use the demographics and psychographics, the similarities, and find more people who are like the people that you want. Facebook understands this inherently. They have any of you who's run ads on Facebook, you know they have this thing called a lookalike audience. What is a lookalike audience? It's very simple. I can go to mirrorofmotivation.com, the back end of my site, and I can download every email address of every person who has ever opted into that page and every person who's ever gotten the book. And I can go to Facebook, upload that list, and say, Facebook, I want you to create me a list of 1,000 people who are very similar to these people who have already gotten my book. Not the list of those people who got the book. I want you to create a list of people who are similar to them. Now, how does Facebook know who's similar to them? Well, Facebook knows because you have given Facebook all of your data and they know everything about you. They know exactly what you're doing right now. They know you're listening to me right now. They know where you're at. They know where you shop. They know what you text about. They know about the pictures you got on your phone. They know everything. All right, so they can tell me exactly who's just like any of you who already has my book through this thing that they have called a lookalike audience. And this is why Facebook makes no billions of dollars in ad revenue, because they know everything. All right, it works. This is why people run ads on Facebook, because it works. Because they have all this data and they know exactly who to talk to get what type of results. I'm saying all of that to say this. If your friends are clicking on a certain ad, soon you're going to see that ad because you're probably similar to your friends in many ways. That's why they're your friends. So the whole point that I'm making here in point number 3 is notice the similarities between the things that you do want and the things that you don't want. Repeat the things that you want more of and discontinue the things that you want less of. I mean, it's a simple enough concept, right? I mean, who could complicate that? Well, everybody can, because this is what human beings do. Point number 4. But I'm here, by the way, to make things simple for you. Point number 4. Today's topic, once again, is how to be a fisherman in life. If you don't like the fish that you're catching, change the bait. If you don't like the people who are in your audience right now, there's something that you are doing that is drawing those people to you. Stop doing it. Maybe you don't know yet what it is. Well, talk to your audience and find out what drew them into you. And if you don't like those people, then stop doing that thing so you stop drawing people like them. Now, if you love your audience, ask them what drew them into you, and you need to do more of that thing. Double down, triple down on that thing so that you get more people who are like them. Simple. I mean, is there anything complicated about that? I don't think so. I mean, if there's something complicated about that, somebody can let me know. Send me a text, 305-384-6894. Let me know what's complicated about that. Again, 305-384-6894. If you don't like what you're getting, change your approach. If you do like what you're getting, keep your approach. If you want to change your approach, that means go fish in a different lake or alter your approach. Maybe you need to, instead of fishing at 5 o'clock at night, go fish at 8 o'clock in the morning, or maybe use different bait. If you don't like who you're attracting, stop doing the things that you did to attract those people and attract a different audience. I told you a story not too long ago about how Notorious B.I.G. was a rapper from Brooklyn, New York. He came from the streets. When he first came out rapping, he was rapping about street stuff, thugs, guns, and drugs, and violence, and that's the kind of rapping he was doing. He was a hardcore street gangster rapper. But he ran into the guy who became the CEO of the company Big was signed to. It's called Bad Boy Records. The CEO is a guy named Sean Puff Daddy Combs. Now, I did a Virtual Mentors episode on Puff Daddy, episode number 195. And one of the things that Puff Daddy noticed about Big was obviously his talent, and the whole world eventually got to see that. But Puff Daddy's vision was a little bit different from Big's vision. He said, Big, I understand you're kind of army fatigued out, because that's what people wore back in the days. If you were in the street, you wore the army fatigues, even though you weren't actually in the military, because that was like the street uniform. He said, I understand you got on the Timberland boots and the army fatigues, but listen, man, we need to get you into these silk shirts and this Versace and this Coogee, and we need to put these shades on you, and we need to make you look more like a Don. We need to make a sex symbol out of you, even though Big, by his own lyrics, he said, heartthrob never, black and ugly as ever. However, I stayed Coogee down to the socks, rings, and watch filled with rocks. And what Big, he embraced this. He took it in from Puff Daddy. Why? Because Puff Daddy understood what Big actually wanted. Big wanted to make money. Big wanted to get out of the streets. So he wasn't so tied to his street persona that he wasn't willing to change his approach in order to do things that would make more money. And what made more money was going a little bit more pop, a little bit more R&B, making songs that would appeal more to the ladies than just appealing to these guys standing on the corner, because the guys standing on the corner didn't buy albums, but the women bought the albums. The women came to the shows, and if a whole bunch of women are going to see a show, guess who else is going to come right behind the women? The men who are interested in those women. So by attracting the women, Big was also able to attract the men, and he was able to become this big superstar to the point that I don't need to explain to anyone who the Notorious B.I.G. is, because of this strategy that was enacted by the guy who was directing his career. Because he understood that we got to throw out a certain type of bait to bring in a certain type of fish, and we bring in that fish is going to bring everybody who's interested in that fish, and that shit worked. Which is one of the reasons why Sean Puff Daddy Combs was the first Virtual Mentor episode that I did. Again, it's episode 195, because he understood what is the bait that we need to throw out, because we're trying to get to a certain outcome. Let's work backwards. In order for us to get the whole world paying attention to us, what did I tell you about doing a strategy? All you do is ask yourself the question, what would need to be true? What needs to be true is we need a really talented artist. We got it, Notorious B.I.G. What needs to be true? He needs to be appealing to a mainstream, widespread audience. But the problem was he was not. He was appealing to a street audience who only understood, they were the only people who understood the street stuff that he was talking about. So what needs to be true? We need to get Big to embrace this more pop, crossover, mainstream type of music that's more for the ladies, more for the radio, more that the suburban kids who aren't from the streets can understand what the hell he's talking about. What would need to be true? I need to sell Big on this idea. What would need to be true? I need to show Big that since his goal, the bait that he wanted was making money. Hey, Big, understand, if we rap about the streets, we're going to get this kind of money. But if we rap about clothes and drinking champagne and popping Cristal and being in a bar and having a lot of money and driving nice cars, we're going to draw this kind of audience and we'll make this much money, which is 10x more. Big bought into it. What needs to be true? Now we got to go make the music. What needs to be true? Now we got to put the music out, and the ladies are going to be attracted to it, and boom, there's your strategy. It worked. Let's recap today's class, which is how to be a fisherman. Now, you know the saying, teach a man to fish, you feed him for a day, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, you feed him for life. Here's how you do it. Number one, throw your bait out there. You can't catch fish just by standing on the edge of the water, looking down into the lake, unless you're reaching in like an eagle with claws or a bear with your mouth and just grabbing the fish as they swim by, I don't think that's a normal thing. I think most people use a fishing rod and some bait. Or maybe some people use a net, but other than that, you can't just steer into the middle of the river and just hope the fish just jump out and come, jump in your box and say, hey, come kill me and eat me for dinner tonight. You got to give the fish what they want. You give enough people what they want, you can have everything that you want. Shout out to Zig Ziglar, rest in peace. Point number 2, focus on those who are biting, not those who are not. No fisherman comes home with 5 or 6 fish that he caught and complains about the 3,000 fish who passed on the bait that he was offering. Focus on the people who are already buying into what you are doing. It costs you a lot more money to get new customers than it costs to sell more to your current customers. In other words, there's more money in serving those who are already in on you than it is trying to acquire people who are not currently in. Number 3, to get more of the fish that you like, notice the commonalities and get specific. All right, this is what Facebook does. This is what they sell to you when you run ads. I'll give you a lookalike audience. We'll tell you exactly who is going to buy into the ad that you're running. When you run ads on Facebook, Facebook tells you before you start running the ad exactly how many leads you're going to get and exactly how many people are going to go to your landing page. How do they know that before you even run the ad? Because Facebook knows everything about all of us because we have given them all of our data. That's a different conversation for a different day. But the whole point is Facebook understands this whole concept of being a fisherman, and this is why they make so much money, because they know how to fish. Number 4, if you don't like the fish that you're catching, change the bait. Fish in a different place, fish at a different time, use a different bait, do something different, alter your approach. If you don't like who you're attracting, stop doing the things you did to attract them and do something different. If that doesn't work, do something else. If that doesn't work, do something else until you get the outcome that you want. Magic formula. If you haven't yet claimed your free copy of my book called The Mirror of Motivation, if today's episode didn't sell you on getting your free copy of the book, I'm selling you a free copy of a book. Now, do you understand what I'm saying to you? Go to mirrorofmotivation.com, claim your free copy of the book. All you do is cover the shipping. I will ship it to you wherever you live. We got envelopes, we got UPS, USPS, airplanes, all of that. Mirrorofmotivation.com. Work on your game.